Alright, gonna be checking out these death spells for spring at 22. One thing though, this is a poor wizard, so I can't show you max tier of, well, any of them, actually. And he doesn't have Deer Knight. So, the death spells that got some attention this spring test realm are Dark Sprite, Ghoul, Banshee, Vampire, Skeletal Pirate, Deer Knight, Lord of Night, and Wraith. Now, Deer Knight and Lord of Night are lore spells, and my death doesn't know Lord of Night, so I can show you the path, but there's no way to get any spellements to test it out. So Dark Sprite isn't too confusing. The top tier costs 1 pip, and you get more damage each time, and a little bit more accuracy. Ending up at 95 accuracy for a death is pretty nice. And then the lower tier. Tier 2 does 120 to 160 damage. That is a lot higher than the tier 1, but all of the lower tier now cost 2 pips. In addition, it gives a minus 10% blade. Tier 3 does even more damage and gives a 10% blade. Tier 4 does even more damage and gives a 15% blade. And then Tier 5 does even more damage and gives another 15% blade. Ghoul. Alrighty, Ghoul currently does 160 steel health and swaps half to you. The top tier, which stays at 2 pips, actually increases in accuracy as you go up, and the damage increases as you go up, and the percentage that it gives back to you goes up. Tier 2 is 55, Tier 3 is 60, Tier 4 is 65%, and Tier 5 is 70% back to you. So it's a little bit different than what's in live. On the lower tier, these now cost 3 pips and they stay at 85% accuracy. Now it does 160 drain health and removes a heal over time. Tier 3 does a little bit more damage and removes a heal over time. Tier 4 does a little bit more damage and removes a heal over time. And Tier 5 does a little bit more drain health and removes a heal over time. As I said, this wizard is really poor. I sold every single thing he has, and yeah, he couldn't max out all his spells. The only one that I made sure that I maxed out was Skeletal Pirate, because it does a little bit something different at Tier 5 than the others. We'll get to that in a second. Banshee does 245 to 305, or Tier 1. For the upper path, both paths, they stay at 3 pips. For the upper path, the accuracy increases as you go along, and so does the damage. For the lower tier, the accuracy stays at 85%. The damage goes down a lot, now doing 160 to 200 damage, but it gives a minus 10% blade and a minus 10% healing blade. And Tier 3, damage goes up just a little bit, and it gives the same damage blade, but it now gives a 15% negative healing blade. Tier 4 goes up a little bit more in the damage. Now it gives a 15% negative blade and a minus 20% negative healing. And Tier 5 goes up even more for the damage, still does a minus 15% blade, and now does a minus 25% healing blade. Yes, you can definitely see how poor he is. He can only upgrade Vampire to Tier 2. But anyhow, Vampire does 335 drain health and gives half back to you. The upper tier, it all stays at 4 pips. The accuracy goes up a little bit. The damage goes up a little bit each time. And Tier 2, the damage goes up a little bit and it still gives you half. Tier 3, it now gives you back 55% of that. Tier 4 also gives you back 55% of that. And Tier 5 gives you 60% back of that drain health. On the lower tier, the damage went down to 245 drain health. It clears a heal over time on the target and gives a 35 trap. Tier 3 does a little bit more damage, clears the heal over time, and does a 40% one. Tier 4 does more damage, still clears the heal over time on the target, and gives a 45%. And the last tier, Tier 5, does 270 damage, clears that heal over time, and gives minus 50% damage ward. Skeletal Pirate does 430 to 510 damage. The upper tier is all 5 pips. The accuracy goes up as you go along, and the damage goes up as you go along. The lower tier, the damage went down just a teeny tiny bit to 425. Instead of a variable, it's a set at 425, and you can do 160 more damage per heal over time on the target, max of 1. Tier 3, damage goes up. The potential additional damage per heal over time stays the same at 160. Tier 4, damage goes up. Potential damage off of that heal over time stays the same, and it still only does 1. Now, Tier 5 does the same amount of damage as Tier 4, and the potential damage number is still the same at 160 per heal over time, but this one does a max of 2. So, I wasn't going to chance it, and I just logged on to my balance wizard so she can cast some heal over time so he can test this one out. And thanks to Outplex for posting these spell writing tier images, because like I said, I don't have Deer Knight, so I wouldn't be able to show it to you. So Deer Knight does 370 over 3 rounds to all enemies. Yes, we love the Deer Knight. Tier 2, now we're swapping the damage around. It's taking a little bit away from the initial damage and doing more on the overtime. Personally, I wish we had option to have that, or the other way around. Sort of like Fire Elf. I really like that. How you can do more initial and less over time, or less initial and then more over time. But with the Deer Knight, you don't have a choice. Same thing with tier 3, a little bit less on the initial. They added it to the overtime. Tier 4, again, took it away from the initial damage and gave it to the overtime. And same thing, now Deer Knight is 180 initial and 420 overtime. Personally, yeah, not my favorite change there. And even though my death doesn't have Lord of Night, one of my other wizards do. Yeah, my fire got that drop from Lore Master. Go figure. So it does 440 drain health, gives half back to you, and gives them a -25 to the next incoming heal. Tier 2 does a little bit more damage, gives you half of that, and also gives you the -25% to the next incoming heal. Tier 3 does the exact same damage as Tier 2, and it gives you half of that back, but this one gives them a -50% on the next incoming heal. Tier 4 does a little bit more damage, gives you half of that, and gives them a -50% to the next incoming heal. And Tier 5 does a little bit more damage, gives you half of that, and then gives -50% to the next incoming heal. I love that they just doubled it. They didn't do like 25, 35, 45, 50, 55. No, they just went 25, 25, boom, 50. I like that. And then finally, Wraith. Wraith has 500 drain health and gives you half. The upper tier, all costing 6 pips. The accuracy goes up as you level it up, and the damage went up just a little bit, and it gives you back half on tier 2. On tier 3, it does the same damage as tier 2, but it gives you back 55%. On tier 4, it does a little bit more damage and gives you back 55%. And on tier 5, it does the same damage as tier 4, but it gives you back 60%. And on the lower path, still 6 pips. All of these are 85% accuracy. It does a little bit less drain health, and then it gives a -10% blade if the enemy already has one. So that's good. Tier 3 does a little bit more damage and gives a 15% weakness if they already have some sort of weakness. Tier 4 does a little bit more damage and gives a -20% weakness if they already have one. And Tier 5 does a little bit more damage and gives them the negative blade if they already have one. Let's test these out. Okay, so I'm just going to go right into those heal over time for her. Oh, look, she's got a label as a recruit. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to give her another heal over time, and I'm going to have him use the Skeletal Pirate, which does more damage because she has 2 heal over times. Alright, there's that, and let's see what type of damage this is going to do. That's right. Ooh, that was rough. Let's see, can we clear a heal over time? Let's use Vampire on her. Okay, so there's the damage, and giving it back to me. And it just killed that heal over time. So sorry, my girl. So why don't we just use this Banshee and see what that does? Does it give you both or what? Ooh. Oh, look at that. It gave the weakness, and there you go. -15% damage and -20% heal. Alright, Dark Sprite, do your thing. Alright, so Dark Sprite does the damage, and then another weakness. Well, sorry, my girl, I'm going to test out the Ghoul that removes a heal over time. Nice damage, giving it back to me, and sorry, no more heal over time for you. Alright, so right now she's got 2 15% weaknesses on. So let's use this Wraith and see what happens. Alrighty, there's the damage. Ooh, don't kill her. And then, yeah, giving it back. Okay, good. And now she's got 3 weaknesses because she already had a weakness, so now she's got 2 15s and a 20. It's kind of cruel. Yeah, so you got the 15 from the Dark Sprite, the 15 from the Banshee, and then there was another 20% from the Wraith, so ow. I don't know if this is new or not, but this says concede. Pass, draw, or concede. I don't remember seeing that before. That's cool. I'll just have her do that because... So let's see, where's she gonna go? Interesting. And she went back to wherever she last was. That's very interesting. Well, that's the death spells that I'm able to show you. Dark Sprite, Ghoul, Banshee, Vampire, Skeletal Pirate, and Wraith. I can't upgrade Lord of Night with spellements yet, because I don't know where you get them, and no one has Dear Night, so I can't show you those two. But hopefully they will change up the spellements maybe that DCS has on the next week's test realm, and if I'm able to, I'll show it off. Thanks so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.